I remember the first time I interviewed you was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
CheckPoint was 3 months old.
Wow.
And I just thought to myself, in preparation for this, how disheartening it is that we're actually going to be discussing the same issues that we did back then. When it comes to maths, it seems the situation is worsening in the country.
Sadly, it is.
30% of our matrics are writing maths.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Are we a country that is going to be building and buying the things that other nations are designing?
Of course.
What is the future?
We will be users.
Users.
We will be users.
And consumers.
And consumers. And sadly, those who are not, the situation will always favor people from high socioeconomic classes. Right? But
you're damned if you're poor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Besides just being users, even just in societal engagement, in the issues of society, you can't think think about what mathematics does. What does it enable us to do?
Just
Problem
saying
solving
think gives us the answer,
critical
right?
thinking. Yeah. But that's the skills that we need. We need
day to day,
even for life. So, will we have professionals maybe who did not study mathematics, who can pivot into another career because they can think outside the box? If they're given a situation that doesn't even need technical knowledge, can they ask the question, why is it like this? Why is it working? Why does this work? Why does this not work? If in fact they're trained in a particular way that excludes these kinds of engagements. So I think it's really bringing our society, just general society, lower. We talk about the fact that people don't have jobs, but actually, the jobs that are there, most of them want people who've done a bit of mathematics. So we are already excluding, and yet we are celebrating.
The financial sector is the biggest financial in the economy at the moment.
Exactly, but many consulting companies want people who've studied math. In fact, Nkepile, here's the thing. I saw a queue on social media at a supermarket, at a mall here in Gauteng, just this week. They had 30 positions, a very long queue. And you know what you do if you want to lessen the numbers? You just go out and say, those who don't have matrics, go home. We don't have space for you.
Those who don't have matric?
Matric. You start with that, right? And then the queue is still long. And then you say, if you didn't do mathematics, pure mathematics at matric, go home. Then a lot will go home. Then you are only maybe dealing with only 100 for 30 positions. Can you see what I'm saying? Then you hire people who've done mathematics.
If you've got higher than 33.3.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can go to, if you got higher than 30%, stay. If it's, you can keep, maths can also be used as a filter, but also, of course, in any employment. It doesn't matter. Whether at a farm or the retail, or you need someone who can think, problem solving.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
That's what you need.
What are your thoughts on Maths Lit?
It was well intentioned. I don't think it's serving the purpose. I've been asking myself about when we had standard grade maths and now we have Maths Lit. What's worse? Was it better to push students to standard grade maths or to Maths Lit? I think Maths Lit should be done away with.
Do any courses at varsity require Maths Lit? Can it get you into any course?
It doesn't. I don't know. Maybe there are some universities that do, but the universities that I know do not take Maths Lit. In fact, even if you get a distinction for Maths Lit, you get 100%. The points, universities have a point system. They don't calculate the points for Maths Lit. It's for other subjects, excluding Maths Lit. There's a few problems with Maths Lit. The first one is the fact that schools are moving children from pure maths to Maths Lit. I think we've got to deal with that problem first. And in a way, they are being incentivized. Because when they move children to Maths Lit, they're trying to up
The
their
average. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the average looks good.
Mm.
The government doesn't look, the department doesn't look at why.
Mm.
Even when they count the number of distinctions, they don't say we are excluding maths literacy. This is what it is, maths literacy and life orientation. Let's exclude that and see what the distinctions are. No, they don't.
They
So
count it.
actually, as a school, you get incentivized for moving children to maths. So that's the first problem with maths lit, right? Now, the second thing that you're going to have is that, I mean, maths lit was meant to make sure that we have a society that's quantitatively literate. It's very important. I mean, people buy furniture on hire purchase. They don't understand. People take telephone contracts that they don't understand how it affects them. And then they realize late, and had they known.
But
and,
is that
and it's
maths?
all the
Why
math.
did you? Why
Well,
do you call it maths lit?
It's
It
well,
seems more like sort of personal finance management or
well,
something
it's
like
not
that.
only that. I mean, if the minister, well, of course, when the minister makes it does a budget, when you cook, there's some maths involved in that, even though people won't call it that. So there's some quantitative literacy that you need, right? So the issue is, where do you get that? Of course, if you do maths, you get it there already. And so the argument was, well, some children just need the literacy, the quantitative literacy. They do not need the whole entire mathematics. Now, my view is that had we not introduced this problem of moving children from math to math literacy, we probably would not be having this discussion. Because in a way, quantitative literacy is a life skill. You need that. But the reason why it becomes problematized is because it's creating another problem. Life orientation doesn't do that. Even though it should actually serve us more. I think it should do more. But there isn't much critique of it. So for me, the two subjects, especially in the context of technological advancements that we are seeing with AI, we really need to relook this too. Because I'd rather have children leaving high school being AI fluent, because that's the world that they're going to contend with. Schools decide, even at grade 11 in June, they say, well, you're getting 40%. We're moving you to maths literacy. Hello? I mean, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
They should be saying, you're getting 40, you're going to do more time, we're going to get special teachers, we're going to make sure that you go beyond 50% at exams time.
Yeah.
But many schools are not doing that. They're saying maths literacy, because they know if you're doing that, then obviously in maths literacy, you're going to get 100%, which means nothing at the end of the day.
There are schools that are not offering maths at all. Which is also very worrying.
True.
I mean, when I looked at the numbers, KwaZulu-Natal 135, Eastern Cape 84, I mean, not at all. I remember when I was at school, maths was compulsory.
Yes. But here's the thing. You mentioned KZN, and that's a top performing province. We are all celebrating it. It's because what we celebrate, it's what's quantitatively just on the surface looks good. We don't go deep. And I think we should start incentivizing in a different way. And so we wouldn't just be saying that. We would be saying province so-and-so is the one that's serving us well when it comes to mathematics. Why? Because their retention, their mathematics retention from grade 9 is way higher than any other province. We should start talking that way. This school A, their mathematics retention is higher, and their pass rate is higher. So they are not only retaining, they're also making sure that the learners succeed. For me, I want us
and
to
nationalize
I think that's
that,
important.
because surely we can
Absolutely.
learn from the schools that are doing well.
When children fail at matric, basic education teachers take a beating. When children fail at university, nobody takes a beating. In fact, it's a point of pride that my course, my module, is
you
not
won't pass it.
Because it's a flex. People flex on that. And I used to raise big issues about this with academics, that you cannot do this. And people don't like it when I say that, but I mean it. In fact, when you're a university that takes top students only, we expect 100% pass from you. You actually have to explain why some people fail. People are scared to talk about universities. The failure rate is high.
You speak a lot about this, the foundation stages.
Yes.
And I went and looked at some of the top performing countries. Singapore is number
Yes.
one at the moment. The
Yeah.
Asian countries are always at the top.
Yeah.
And their children are taught maths from between the ages of 3 and 6, but not
True.
as maths, as you adding this, you
Yeah.
subtracting that. It's part of life. Maths
Yes.
becomes part of life. Just talk more to me about the
I mean,
foundational stage and
True.
what quality of teaching we have there in South Africa.
I mean, Singapore is a very interesting case, and it's a case that we can learn from, because that performance in mathematics, they've been performing that way for years, right? And they started being known as that kind. People started asking what is known as Singapore math
Yes.
came about as a result of their performance in the team's study, and of course they start in that way that you start with objects and then you go to pictures and then you then go to abstraction. So at the 3-year-olds at preschool, whatever, that's what they do. Of course, many of our children, if you are poorer here, preschool is a...
But it is being introduced. I mean, the education department said they're introducing more than 1,200 early
True, yes.
childhood development facilities.
But that's not the only thing, right? Their approach is problem solving. So even at primary school, even at grade R,
their approach is problem solving.
Yeah. So it's not only that you get in this problem right. They will ask, why does it work? They focus on teaching them, sort of exercising their problem solving muscle, growing that muscle, rather than packing the curriculum with more content. To see. And that's a different, because if you do that you grow with that, because that's what's going to put you in good stead in the long term, you know.
And mother tongue.
Yeah.
Plays an important role, surely.
Home language is important.
What do we do in this situation in South Africa? I mean, I remember, I think my matric maths exam was just word problems.
Yeah.
You first have to understand what the words mean before, after, whatever.
Yeah.
Before you can actually do the sum.
True. And if you look at the Singapore math books, textbooks are mainly word problems. A lot of them, because it's problem solving. So they're all in context. But of course, the interesting thing about Singapore is that it's English. These are South Asians who are English, right?
So but I'm talking about our situation here.
Yes. We have a problem, of course, of mother tongue. Now, I have done research on this. I've written a lot of this. And the issue is you can't just change and say people must learn in their home language. We are a multilingual country. You have to introduce multilingual approach to teaching.
Multilingual approach.
I talk about a multilingual approach.
Teaching.
Yeah, a multilingual approach. But of course, it means in a class, first of all, we should have textbooks that are bilingual. That's not just one language. That is Sepedi and English. So that I don't have to ask anybody for permission. And in class, I should be able to, we should make sure that the teachers become more bilingual or multilingual. Of course, per province, depending on what's dominant. Because it is not possible. You see, if you want the strategy to fail, you must say change altogether to teaching in African languages. Because what you're going to create, Nkepile, is a situation where the wealthy will buy English. They will take their children to the schools that are English. They will become more expensive because now they are selling English. What we've got to accept is that we are multilingual. Demand that every teacher becomes bilingual at least. Or we should say multilingual, because, Africans always raise his head, rightfully so. But we've got English and then we've got another. If you're in KZN, you've got to be fluent in isiZulu. Just like that.
So if the child doesn't understand in English, you can, as a teacher,
the teacher can
explain in a second language.
Yes,
that may be understandable.
Also, it doesn't become awkward.
It doesn't become awkward.
Yeah, at the moment it's awkward. It's awkward. You are stupid. You don't understand English. There's something wrong with you. Okay, so you've got to normalize it. So if you have it in the textbooks, and I have made an argument on this, to Minister of Education, the former minister was in 2016. I presented an argument for a multilingual approach to mathematics, and I argued that the textbooks, one side is an African language, the other side is English. Just like that. It will just be a little bigger. But all the textbooks must have 2 languages. Fine. If you're English, you look at one side only. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to learn Setswana, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think
It's
about
no
it.
harm. It
There's
does more good
It does more
than
good.
harm. How did you fall in love with mathematics?
It was the only thing I could do. Damn. I couldn't do anything. Let's talk about this, right?
Oh, wow.
Because, no, seriously.
Lucky fish.
I didn't think I was lucky then as a child. I mean, first of all, let me just say, I was protected by my parents. Our parents, me and my siblings had no idea that there's anything special ever about mathematics. We had no idea.
You just
Nobody.
did it, and you could do it.
My dad, you had to be excellent at everything. So even if I got 100 at maths and got 60 at history, I got punished. So the culture of excellence is the culture that I grew up with. We were poor. We were going to borrow salt next door. But we didn't have a poverty of ideas, inspiration, challenge. We were told we are smart. And so you can get everything at 100%. If you can get maths at 100%, you can get everything at 100%. Excellence was the important thing. And I think that's the one thing that we're not pushing very hard in the country, really. If we did, no child would be comfortable with passing any subject at 30%.
But this is what worries me about the argument of the 33.3% pass rate, is that isn't the pass rate actually decided at home between yourself and your parents? This is what we agree your potential is. This is what you have shown. This is what we expect.
I do,
Not that the government says you have passed.
No, I do want us to contextualize that. Because I think
Please do.
Because there's a political party that's running with that.
Yeah.
And the interpretation is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the policy says you are declared to have passed a subject if you get 30%, 33.3%. Then you are declared to have passed that subject. But it doesn't mean if you get all your subject at 30%, then you're automatically a pass or whatever. That's something else.
Yeah. But
okay, so
I'm talking about the ethos and the values that you were talking about.
But by the way,
shouldn't we be setting standards?
This is not new. When I was at school, 33.3% was the pass even then.
But not in your home.
Not in my home.
Not with your parents.
But that's a different issue.
Yes.
The minister should not be managing people's households.
Yes.
And for me, it's the conversations that we're not having in the country. The conversations of values of our society.
That starts from home.
And it starts from home. But of course, if you say this, people say, oh, but, there are no parents, there are no whatever. I mean, just look at what comes out on social media during December. Children being fed alcohol. And a parent writing on X that, oh, you should go and have your children. These are my children. I'll feed them whatever I want. But even the culture, and I'm going to be, step on people's toes here. I mean, Gidi is a brilliant Gidi, a brilliant celebration. But hey, it's centered around alcohol. And so that's the time when everybody drinks. But a month later, nobody's got money to pay fees or to even drive to work. Many people struggle with that. Who is celebrating that? So for me, our value system is not just showing up here. It shows up in so many places. But it's a free country. Everyone's got a right. Who am I? To say limit. Drink to a limit. This is where you stop. If you can save so much for alcohol, I'm sure you can save so much just for a flight that goes to the university. Just for that. And then apply for NSFAS. Just for the bus. I'm sure if you can save this, who am I? But there's a value
You're
lacking.
privileged. You're speaking from a privileged point of view is what you will be told.
And people who don't know me will even say to me, you grew up with the golden spoon. They have no idea. I started school under a tree in a village. We borrowed everything. I tell them today's poverty is not poverty. I know poverty where you go home during break. You walk into the house, you get out without eating anything because there's nothing to eat. You go back to school and 3 hours later you faint. Not because you're sick, but because you're hungry.
And then you become a professor of mathematics.
Of course, but teachers were used to that. I mean, it's like, yeah, but the issue is that people think, you see, we had that poverty, but we didn't have poverty of inspiration. We dreamt big. We were told we were smart. And yet, on Sunday, we went opposite to go and eat beetroot and pumpkin. Sio panzela and next door. To go and wash in their butts because Tinasi, we wash in a vasco. But the value system at home was different. We understood we don't have anything, but we will have in future. They said, my dad said, you're all going to invest in this is what you do. So I think that value system of saying we decide a pass mark at home is important, but it's not just that. It's a lot of things. So I don't think the issue of a pass mark, I mean, why are we not challenging schools and teachers who say to learners, don't worry about this. This chapter is difficult.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, don't worry. Just leave it, actually. Study only this. If you study only this, you will score 30% and you will pass.
Because we're all waiting for that announcement by the minister.
Exactly.
88%.
Exactly.
And shame is a huge thing, especially with maths and with children.
Yeah.
How do they come out and say, I don't understand? Children are ashamed to say, I don't understand.
True. But people are ashamed to be themselves.
Okay.
It starts there. Children are ashamed to be themselves. Because if they're themselves, then they're declared something else. But they see adults who are ashamed of being themselves. And they see adults who are being themselves, being shamed. Some of them surviving and some of them not. And so they don't want the consequences. They don't want the consequences of being themselves, and it's too risky. So
it's too risky to be themselves.
It's too risky to be themselves. So in a way, you understand that. So how do we preach that message? And what does it mean to be yourself? That be your good self, your better self. Don't be ashamed. It's okay. It's okay to be who you are. And
it's okay to ask a simple question.
And not to understand and not to, and actually, just be a never mind.
Do you see light at the end of the tunnel? Are we going to turn this ship to face in a direction where the outcomes actually match what is needed to grow this economy, the outcomes of the education system?
I think it depends. It depends who's in the leadership. It depends. At this point in time, Nkepile, I'm sorry, it's in the hands of the parents. Because as we stand, the Department of Basic Education feels they've done what they need to do.
They feel they need to be congratulated.
But yes, but I don't think so. I think we should challenge them. Somewhere I talked about they've got to introduce benchmark exams, numeracy benchmark exams at grade 3 and at grade 6. Not to filter students out, but to solve the problem. Yes. And to say, this is where, now let's solve this problem.
Yeah.
Not to shame any school, but to have an analysis that says, okay, like call us who have done let's look at the learner performance, see the concepts that the learners are not getting. Then we can tell each province, now in this province, these are the concepts. In this district, these are the concepts. Then you focus on those. Whilst they're in grade 3, grade 6, then we don't get a surprise in grade 12. Do you see what I mean?
Because the person who wants to solve the problem wants to know what the problem is.
Yes. True. The Minister of Basic Education was holding a lekgotla last week.
Okay, and
they asked me, they phoned me, the DG's office, and I said, sure. By the way, I don't speak for free. I charge.
Okay.
But I decided this is national duty.
Yeah.
They must just pay for my ticket to come to Joburg. I'll do it for free. Said 2 days before.
Don't tell me they cancelled on you.
They cancelled on me.
They cancelled
you. Not because the lekgotla is not happening. I just think I'm just too open. I'm out. They know me. I will put it on the table.
What were you going to say? Tell them here. They don't have a choice. They have to hear you.
Some of it we've talked about, a lot of it here, But I do, I do care about South Africa. I do care about South Africa, and I do care about education. But I do know that Zimbabwe and Botswana will listen to me more than South Africa.
People
Yeah.
who apply their minds are worth being heard. You don't have to agree with them,
True.
but hear them.